Hi, my name is Daniel Gregersen, and in this video I'll give you some of my best insights about how you need to plan an upgrade or patch of SAP PI PO from either 7.31, 7.4 to 7.5, or just a normal patch upgrade of 7.5 to the latest patch. So in the link in the comments you can see this document or the blog post regarding this, and I hope you'll check it out and find it really useful. In this video I'll cover some of these things and give some more perspective of these things to give you some of the highlights of this. So obviously the first thing is there's a lot of different understanding about what you need to do for this. So if you have 7.31, 7.4, and want to upgrade to 7.5 and you have used a single stack, it should be fairly simple. It should be like applying any other support packages that you have. It's just a normal process of this. If you have a dual stack system on those levels, it obviously depends on how many ICOs you have. If you have a lot of non-ICOs, it's better for you to do a migration to a new system and work with that in that perspective. If you have CBERG or B2B add-on, we do recommend that you also do a migration. We have a tool that can enable you to do this kind of a migration with a simple click. And if you end up doing a migration, we've written quite a number of articles on this topic. It's probably a more complicated project, but it does have some benefits. It does limit the risk because you can go much more detailed in phases, where if you're doing an upgrade it's all or nothing. So there's a lot of consideration. You need to figure out which model fits best with your needs. I guess we could probably even zoom here. So another thing is regarding, do we need to do an upgrade or a patch? What's the difference between these things? So the way SAP is delivering software is that they have a software component. In this software component, they're then adding some support packages, and in each support package they are adding some new features. And then they are adding bug fixes to these, and in each of these bug fixes they will then fix a bug, and you can then they will then be compiled, and in one one patch they may fix 5 or 10 or 100 different bug fixes, and each of the different software components then depend on a lot of other things. There is ways to see what areas has been affected by a patch, but it is really difficult to actually see all the things that have been affected and then have an idea about how this actually affect you, your problem. So for me, I don't see a big difference between a patch or an upgrade or a support package upgrade. It's all the same. You are getting something you don't really know what it is. Obviously, the longer duration there is between your initial part and the new one, the bigger difference you'd see and the more potential errors there could be. It's not as with ABAP where you can actually just apply as a support package for a specific instance. How often do you need to upgrade? I have just checked that for 2020 there's 3 support packages scheduled. I think Service Pack 17 is about to be shipped. Let's see if that changes and how that does. So normally I would recommend a patch every 12 to 18 months, just so you have some of the biggest fixes there are, unless you find that you need to leverage some of the newer technologies. I think the only place where I would actually recommend that you do patch every 2 2 times a year would be if you're using CPI content on your PI system, because there's being added a lot of things to make sure that it's compliant with the cloud instance. So if you're doing that, it's probably a good idea to stay current and use that process. The next part is testing, and I think that's probably one of the biggest things with this type of project, because you just want to make sure that nothing has been affected by the things that you have done. As a vendor of a software tool, FIGAF, my inspiration is obviously you need to be testing whenever you're doing this. But it obviously, you can obviously live without it, and I've seen a number of clients that have actually upgraded without finding any problems, or just upgraded. So it obviously depends on your risk preference, what you can actually do in that perspective. After an upgrade, there's actually 2 types of and we have seen people that have upgraded without doing a lot of testing, and it's worked out somewhat smoothly as expected. I guess the thing is, once you have upgraded, you obviously need to be more vigilant about alerts and handle them faster. But other than that, you can go without upgrading. So there's 2 types, or go without testing, obviously. So there's 2 types of errors. There's the errors that result in a mapping error that you can then see in your system, and I think that's probably the most likely case, where the way SAP is handling message mapping is changing, and that is affecting some specific use cases that you're specifically using. The other type is a lot more difficult. It would be that you're getting something, it's obviously not an error, but a difference, and you would not actually be able to see what this difference is. It will just be something that exists, but you have no clue about what it is and what actually to do with this. So I think obviously the first part here you can fix it fairly quickly. In the other one, not so much, and it becomes a lot more difficult actually to find a good way to solve this. You need to understand how you want to do testing of this. You can do some manual testing, or you can do automated tests. With PI, there's a number of different tools that are specifically designed to test PI or PO. We at FIGAF have created a tool that allow you actually to really simple select a number of messages you want to record from your productive interface of productive system, take them and run them on your development box, and if there's any difference, you can look into whether these differences are, if they're expected or not. And that kind of testing gives you quite a number or a wide variety of test options, and I enabled you to test all these kind of different message mappings and alerts and errors that can occur, and that gives quite a good benefit, because if you're not doing that, it will be really difficult to actually test or find that specific mapping that you have. There are also some people that are using some script-based approaches where you are setting up, go into the SAP screen, trigger this order, send it, and then validate that we received it in the third-party system. It's good test cases, but I don't really think that it will give you a lot of value in such an upgrade. So go with one of these tools, and I would prefer or recommend the FIGAF tool for it, or you can check out the standard FIGAF tool or the Infor product and see if they have something that's better for you. These tools do not really, or in most cases, do not test that, for instance, the RFC adapter, the REST adapter, and these same things work. So you need to figure out how do we actually do these things ourselves, and set up maybe some smaller test scripts, or just say, okay, we just want to test that we can do these things and then run this, then everything should work. Obviously, you need to test a lot of other things in your landscape or in this on the systems once you're upgrading, and I think that is also an important part of this, being able to test and validate these things. If you're using PO or BPM, BRM, or Enterprise Portal, the My Inbox or anything like that, you obviously need to test. Do they still work, and are there any changes that we need to consider in this case? So obviously the PI part is not the only thing, but I think it's probably the biggest thing that you'd see. And then what are the steps that you need to do in this process? So obviously you need to identify which release you want to go with. And I think most SAP customers have the idea we'll do current release -1, because then we're getting things that are well tested and stuff like that. I don't really think that is adding so much value because of the way SAP is delivering support packages and stuff like that. So you might as well just get the latest release, maybe not on the day of the release, but after 1 or 2 months, and then you should have a lot of all the bug fixes sorted out, and it will be easier for you to apply this. The timeline of this obviously depend on how much time you have, how big of a risk they are, how big of a gap that you want to bridge, and if it's a big one, you probably need to have more time on it. So I have seen customers do a 3 months upgrade cycle, which probably not ideal. You probably want to be in the range of 1 to 2 months there, because once you have applied the package on your development system, you cannot really develop anything new or fix it. So in the preparation phase, this is obviously you want to plan what's going on, how long time do we have for this upgrade. You want to figure out when do we do testing and stuff like that. If you're using an automated tool, this is also the place where you would create all these test cases, so you can simply run these once you have applied the test. And Adanko Petroleum, a customer of ours, did use this interface upgraded, and in 3 weeks they were able to create 300 test cases on the full system. And then you could execute this test one night, and they were good to go. Obviously then they still needed to do some manual tests because we are not testing adapters, but it really simplifies the process because you're getting the ability to test mappings, modules, routings, all these different kind of things that can be changed. You would apply this on your development system. You will probably spend 1 to 2 weeks doing testing on that. Run these integration tests, check if there's any specific things you need to do. Then you would apply it on your QA system and go through the same kind of process about testing and making sure everything works as you expect it to do. And you would run the tests. I think the biggest challenge in this part is not to do your technical test. You can probably figure that one out with your developers, but actually to get the business to do testing, because let's face it, no one really want to do these boring kind of test scripts that's been created, and they may not know how to do that or something like that. And it's better if you just, you can automate it so you don't need all the business to be involved in this. Otherwise, I would assume you can do something and say, okay, you have 2 or 3 weeks to do the testing, and if you have not done that in that period of time, means you have accepted this interface and this upgrade and everything is good. And if there's errors on this, it's on you. I guess that is where you want to put the blame. Another part is obviously once you're doing the upgrade, you also want to be able to test and see how long time does this take, so you can practice and figure out do we need 2 hours, 1 day or 2 days to do this update or upgrade? Then you would do a go live, and you obviously need to schedule what time you can get some downtime. SAP have some near zero downtime options that enable you to apply the support package in a little simpler way, giving you the option to actually upgrade a lot faster, or to have a lower downtime, which obviously is important for a PI system because it is the backbone of your integration. But it does come at a cost, some complexity involved in it, and I'm not sure how long time or how many patches you can be behind or anything like that. But it is an option for some cases. I would also recommend that you do a full backup of the system, because once you have applied any packages, it's really difficult to go back. So do a full backup, test everything works, apply the patches, and then once you have applied these patches or updates, you obviously want to check that everything works as you expect it to do. You would do more vigilant monitoring and check out, are there any new errors we need to check, anything we haven't seen before, and fix these bugs as fast as possible. I had one time where we found a bug in some code that was not tested, and we had to roll back because it was not possible to really fix the specific issues. Luckily, this was some messages that failed, and then again, we're back to this type of alerts that you actually see something failed versus something that's just being processed successfully but is wrong. So I do recommend that you go to fiaf.com/IoT, try out our tool. It's more than just a test suite. So once you've created the test cases, you can use them in your everyday life when you're deploying new things, making changes, making sure that everything works as expected. So I do recommend to go check that out. I hope this guide has been helpful. If you liked it, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel so you get more updates. So that was all I wanted to share with you in this episode. So thank you.